Ecological succession is a really important aspect of ecology. The idea is that communities and ecosystems change constantly. And so the key concept for this section is all about how ecological succession is a process of change in the species that make up an ecosystem. So exactly how does this work? Well, succession usually follows some kind of disturbance in the ecosystem. So what kind of things might create a disturbance? Well, we hear usually every year about some type of natural disaster that occurs. So whether it be forest fires, if a forest fire breaks out and destroys an entire habitat, that makes it difficult for those organisms that do survive. Now they've lost their shelter, they've lost their food source, and now they have to move out into a new ecosystem or a new habitat. Well, the interesting thing that happens after a forest fire occurs is the succession of that ecosystem. Now, this is when there's a regeneration of the community after the disturbance. It's a sequence of biotic changes that occur as living things move in and reclaim that area. Damaged communities can be completely regenerated over time. New communities sometimes arise in previously uninhabited areas, which can make a brand new habitat. So how does this work? There are two different phases of succession. And these two types of succession, the first one is called primary succession. It's usually the succession that is started by what we call a pioneer species. And the pioneer species is the first group of organisms to be able to live in that particular habitat after the disturbance. Usually they're hardy and they can provide shelter and they can provide as a food source for additional species. Once the habitat has begun to be broken in, if you will, then we have secondary succession. And the secondary succession is when we start to see the growth of additional vegetation. We see new organisms moving into the area because of the additional niches provided by those remaining species. So succession is important in restoring the ecosystem balance.